Welcome to the Spirit, the Beyond Files.
Ready to question reality? You're in the right place.
Let's dive in.
In the 1960s, Laurel Canyon was the epicenter of the counterculture movement. But beneath the peace and love facade, there are whispers of a darker story. Rock legends like Jim Morrison, Frank Zappa, Stephen Stills, and others had parents with close ties to the military-industrial complex. Rumors of military connections, secret societies, and covert operations swirl around this iconic neighborhood. Why did so many rock stars have parents in high-ranking military positions? And what was the true purpose behind the hippie haven? Some say the canyon was a controlled experiment, blending music with mind control. The Lookout Mountain facility, a top-secret military installation, is said to have played a crucial role. This facility was involved in classified projects, including film production and psychological operations. Laurel Canyon wasn't just the birthplace of classic rock. It was a vortex of intrigue, deception, and unanswered questions. Are you ready to uncover the truth? Hit subscribe and let's dive into the mystery together.
I didn't know MK Ultra was so prevalent or even existed at that point.
That reminds me of a previous video when somebody was hunting and they encountered a creature like that and
Like a rake.
yeah,
I don't know if that's fake or not. If it's not fake, it's horrifying.
I'd feel better just telling myself that it's fake.
What was in its mouth?
Tell me your craziest story about intuition and how it ended up being true. I want to be freaked out. I want to hear these stories and be like, what?
Okay, but you asked for it. We're gonna go back 14 years ago. I had invited my friend over who was supposedly pregnant, just like I was. We were both 18 and I don't know, just everything seemed like normal. The whole reason that she had came to my house was because she wanted to give me baby shower gifts and she wasn't able to make it to my baby shower. What's the harm, right? Well, as the night goes on, everybody leaves my house and it's just me and her. At this point, I start to get all these weird feelings. Honestly, feelings that I can't even explain. She had this gift for me that she stated needed to be shown to me in the dark because it was some type of light that shined on the ceiling for my son. She told me to stand in the middle of my room, turn around and close my eyes as she tried to dig through this bag looking for the present. As that started to happen, I started to have these weird thoughts. It wasn't even just weird thoughts. It was almost like somebody was whispering, telling me what was going to happen before it even happened. So these thoughts or this voice that I was hearing was telling me like, Angelique, you're about to be stabbed. You're about to get hurt. Like, it just kept going over and over and over again. And at this point, I've never had this feeling before. I'm also a teenager. I don't understand what's even happening at this point. As much as I tried to ignore the feeling, I just couldn't. She told me to turn around, sit on my bed, and she got up behind me, put her hand on my shoulder, started to count to 3. She started saying 1, 2, and right when she started to say 3, it was like something told me, stand up. So I got up as fast as I could, ran, and turned the light on. There's a lot of in between, but long story short, she had 2 large butcher knives, a pair of scissors, disinfectant, and had one of everything to take my baby from my stomach. She was going to kill me, perform a C-section on my body to take my unborn child. She then set my house on fire to burn my body with all the evidence. And me and my son are literally alive and here today because of my intuition. If you're ever wondering if you should listen to it, I'm going to say yeah.
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
Trust your intuition is the big lesson here.
Yeah, especially in a situation like that. If your gut is telling you, we all have that ability to feel that. Don't ignore that feeling.
Always go with the first impression.
Yeah.
Always.
You know that declassified CIA document that says we live in a holographic reality? that the woman's womb is a portal, and that you can literally send your consciousness to anywhere, whether it's past, present, or future, through astral projection and remote viewing. Yeah, well, the reason why the CIA was looking into this, because of this man. This is Robert Monroe. My previous video was all about him. He was born in the 1900s and he was a very successful businessman. Around 30 to 40, he started having these spontaneous out-of-body experiences. They freaked him out. He thought he had brain tumors. He thought he was going crazy. Every doctor he went to said he was perfectly fine. So he used his resources to hire a team of scientists to run experiments to figure out if what he's been experiencing could be replicated. He wanted to see if they could map out and explore as much of consciousness as they could. This is Thomas Campbell, an incredibly gifted physicist who was part of Bob Monroe's team. Campbell is very famous for his works in applied physics and metaphysics. So why did he want to work with Robert Monroe? When he was in college, he had some monks that came who offered to teach people how to meditate if they brought them a piece of fruit, I believe. He had time to kill. He thought it was going to end up being a scam. He gave his banana, and it was a life-changing experience for him. Being the scientist that he is, he was trying to figure out how to explain what he experienced, and he couldn't. So he got a job and continued to meditate. One day, he heard that Bob Monroe was coming into town talking about the out-of-body experiences that he's had. He with some coworkers went to go listen to him. Monroe mentioned that he was looking for scientists so that they could test what he experienced to see if they could replicate it. Campbell was like, I'm a scientist. I'd love to work with you. But you see, Campbell was still relatively young. Monroe was looking for older scientists that had some credibility to their name, who had a track record, but none of them wanted to work with him. They all thought it was woo-woo nonsense. So Campbell and a couple of other young scientists joined the team. Campbell's biggest focus was to bring scientific validation to everything that was being done. He wanted to demystify the mysticism. He wanted to use the scientific process to explain everything. So they studied it systematically. They were able to separate genuine experiences from anecdotal claims or misunderstandings. His book, My Big Toe, which documents the entire journey, freaking mind-blowing, guys, freaking mind-blowing. For example, in the East, they talk about these sacred mantras, sacred words that if you repeat can take you to higher states of consciousness. What they found through testing is that it's not specific word, but rather the tone, the vibration that it carries. I believe in the book, he says you could even say something like Abba-bardi-dum, and just repeat that. You can achieve the same thing. It honestly is one of the most fascinating books I've ever read. It bridges the gap between science and spirituality so well. But it doesn't stop there. He describes his journey of being able to access higher states of consciousness and the interdimensional beings that live in a higher vibration than we do, spiritual guides, if you will, he met and the teachings he got along the way. You know how there's a declassified CIA document that maps out the Galactic Federation? Yeah, well, some people have experience with it. The craziest thing too is you only have access to it if they let you have access. He described one journey where he was meditating and basically there were two beings. They're like, hey man, you're where you need to be with your progress. You can't do this anymore. And he's like, the door was sealed. He wasn't able to access those states of consciousness for 20 years until someone reopened it. The reason why he called the book My Big Toe is because these are the things that he has learned through experience. And his only objective is to lay out the information so that other people can gain knowledge through experience, which of course, experience is the greatest teacher. So what does Thomas Campbell say that this life is? Oh, he says it's a simulation. Yeah, he says we're in a holographic reality that is a projection of consciousness that you are both a creator and participant in. You ever had that experience where you're like, man, this doesn't even feel real? Thomas Campbell has something to say about that.
I don't know what to think about it. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I was going to say that book is on the list of books I need to read.
Yeah.
There are things that I can't explain that happen, that you think of something and then bam, it's just right there out of nowhere. Something that is obscure, the thought you have in your head, and then you see it in front of you and you're like, how is that possible?
If you reach that level with the transcendental meditation type of thing, just let me know, okay? Because I have a hard time with that. I struggle.
If you experience it, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Love to hear about it.
That's really strong. You're just pulling I don't know, how many pound baby just across the floor?
You could tell she was looking up, like something was circling around her. And I think she went under that little mat to kind of hide from it.
I
She
think
didn't
so.
want to see it. I think houses that are set up like that have really high ceilings too, or open. They kind of creep me out too.
Oh, really?
They do. It's like too much space. I don't know.
Amy? Amy? Amy?
I always wonder what's up with the babies. Why are the spirits always around the babies?
They're still connected and they're still like close to coming in from one life to another. And they're innocent. They still have their innocence. Nothing has changed their perception. Hey, you guys enjoying the video? Do us a favor and like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, and share our videos.
Strangest coincidences in history. On December 5th, 1664, a ship sank off the coast of Wales in the Menai Strait. All 81 passengers lost their lives in the wreck, save for one survivor. His name was Hugh Williams. Then on December 5th, 1785, another ship sunk in the same spot. Once again, the only survivor was a man named Hugh Williams. In 1820, yet another ship sank in the same location. Once again, the only survivor was a guy named, you guessed it, Hugh Williams. Now, you'll sometimes read this third wreck occurred on December 5th as well, although in truth, the shipwreck actually occurred on August 5th of that year. The date probably got changed to make the coincidence sound even stranger. But the coincidence is plenty strange enough all on its own. That's because on August 19th, 1889, a coal barge sunk in the same area. This time there were two survivors. And I know what you're thinking. One of these guys has to be named Hugh Williams, right? Well, not exactly, because both of them were.
Rach, I have to tell you something.
What?
My name's Hugh Williams.
I ain't going on a ship with you then.
What happens when an intuitive/sensitive goes to the catacombs in Rome? Exactly what you'd think. I just had the most incredible experience at the Capuchin crypts, which I can't wait to tell you about, so I thought this would be pretty similar. It in fact was not. As soon as I walked down the steps, like entering the catacombs, I was like, oh, we should not be here. Not as in like me, Megan, but like people should not be here. The tour guide was rattling off facts, and I am not clocking anything she's saying, because every time I look down one of these halls, which may or may not be lit, I'm just seeing dozens of angry faces staring back at me. The dead are mad. The tour guide then informs us that, as you can see, there are no actual human remains in the burial chambers of the catacombs, because for the last 100 years, tourists have been going down there stealing bones and selling them as relics. So, I mean, if that was your final resting place, wouldn't you be a little pissed? I just wanted to take off and get out of there, but it wasn't really an option, because I was not going to be that person who got lost in the catacombs. The juxtaposition between feeling like it was such a sacred place with anger smashed up against that was just a trip. And as I felt these beings, a lot of men to be honest, just starting to push right up on me, like, you have no business here, get out of here, this is not a place for the living, I suddenly felt these two women, one older, I'd put her maybe like mid-50s, 60, one younger, I'd put her in her 20s. They just came up on either side of me. Based on their clothes, they had to be at least dead for a few hundred years, maybe close to 1,000. And they said, yes, they're very angry. You can understand why. We'll help you, Get out and get through this, and we'll keep you safe. But the deal is, you have to tell people that they shouldn't be coming here. So consider this their message from these two wonderful women who are on the other side, those guardians and gatekeepers of that sacred space. If you're planning a trip to Rome, don't go to the catacombs. When it finally ended, I had never climbed a set of stairs so fast in my life, and it felt like coming up for air, like I hadn't breathed in years. You know that scene in The Descent, the very end, when she breaks through the surface? Enough said. So please take the advice of my departed friends who helped me through a bit of a universal smackdown. Do not go to the catacombs. Don't disturb the dead. It's not an attraction.
There's just so much lore when a body does not have a proper burial or a proper resting place.
Or people are stealing the bones.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to
Rest.
Yeah, rest.
But also, don't you think they might be a little lonely down there and want a little human interaction?
Well, tourists like going through constantly, and I'm sure some people's energy isn't enjoyable, and taking pictures, and it's just a tourist attraction for them, but these people had meaningful lives.
The Grand Canyon is not just an American sightseeing location. There are strange and dark secrets that lie within. Some have even encountered a gateway to a hidden world. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article about an expedition funded by the Smithsonian. This expedition was led by a man named G.E. Kincaid, and he discovered an ancient underground city within the Grand Canyon. But here is where it gets interesting. This city was filled with artifacts from ancient Egypt, hieroglyphs, statues, and even a pyramid. How did ancient Egyptian relics end up in Arizona over 5,000 years ago? Is it possible that they had access to flight? But it gets even stranger. The Smithsonian seized all the artifacts and shut down any further exploration, which led to 90% of the Grand Canyon being restricted till this day. The canyon is home to numerous hidden caves and tunnels, many holding ancient treasures and technologies. Many adventurers used to report seeing strange lights and sounds coming from these depths. The Hopi tribe, a tribe native to the region, speak of sacred underground cities known as the Sipapu. These cities are believed to be gateways to the underworld, holding powerful energies that should never be disturbed. All this makes us wonder, what else is hiding in the Grand Canyon?
Well, they don't teach you that at school.
I think there's a lot we don't know, and I definitely think there's something going on under there.
Turning the lights off and chanting happy birthday while blowing out candles and making a wish is a form of magic rituals. Black mirrors were used to contact spirits, and we use them every single day. They were called scrying mirrors. Scry became screen. When you are praying, you are trying to cast a spell to change reality with your words. The word abracadabra translates to I will create with my words. This is why we call it spelling. It's a spell. Birthday rituals are making you age quicker. When we say how old are you, we are tricking our subconscious mind that we are old. When you jinx something, this is a jinn, which is an invisible creature within the...
I think it's interesting that the guy wears gloves, because I feel like he's protecting his
hands from the research.
Yeah, well, like we have eyes all over our bodies, and your hands have eyes too. So
I didn't even notice the gloves. I was more focused on the ritual stuff of the birthday thing.
Yeah, that too. Especially with the black mirrors, the phones. It makes you wonder the magic behind the technology.
If that's good or bad. Obviously it's demonic, but like it did save his ass. But he's the host, so.
Yeah, it makes me think of Venom or something.
Yeah.
Y'all want to hear a story? This is the story of the Devil's Highway, what was once known as Route 666, which is considered one of the most famous haunted roads in all of the United States. This road begins in Monticello, Utah, and runs all the way to Gallup, New Mexico, running through Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and once upon a time, Arizona. Prior to the road's inclusion in the U.S. system in the 1920s, this route included the Navajo Trail and the Old Spanish Trail. It was numbered 666, not because of any sinister connotation at the time, but because it was the sixth branch of Highway 66. Unintentionally traditionally referring to the number of the beast and its association with the devil. This road became known as the Devil's Highway, and people believed it cursed. There has been an unusually high number of accidents and fatalities on this stretch of road. In fact, a state trooper that was interviewed in 1990 told a USA Today reporter that, quote, "666 is evil. Everyone dies on that highway." And many of these accidents are believed to have supernatural causes. And this road is chock full of different legends and stories about what happens here. One of the most popular stories is that of Satan's sedan, a black car that appears at nightfall and speeds up on drivers. It usually zooms past the car and then disappears. So some claim this ghostly sedan has even bumped their bumper before swerving around them and disappearing. There is a phantom hitchhiker, a young woman in white who tries to wave down drivers, and then if someone pulls over, she disappears. Then there's the mad trucker, which is a lot like Satan's sedan, but actually more scary because it's an 18-wheeler that appears, and it's coming at you head on in the center of the road. It's always moving extremely fast. Most people that see it say that it's moving at about 100 miles an hour. Some witnesses even claimed that it was moving so fast that it was like throwing sparks, while others describe the truck as being engulfed in flames. It's believed this mad trucker sightings have been responsible for several of these fatal accidents. And if that's not scary enough for you, there's also reports of hounds of hell that run around. Packs of wild black dogs with glowing yellow or red eyes. And it said these dogs run as fast as a car can drive and will run alongside cars and keep up with them. And they've also said to cause wrecks by running in front of cars or even swarming cars and like trying to attack it. And it said these hellhounds have claws and teeth sharp enough to shred a tire. There's also a specific section of the road between Navajo Nation and these Ute Mountains that is said to be known territory of skinwalkers. These skinwalkers are said to act in a very specific pattern. Usually you will see it first in a human form, appearing as like a medicine man walking along the side of the road or standing there, who will motion you to stop or to turn around or otherwise communicate with you that you should turn around. And if this warning is ignored and the driver keeps on anyway, later on down the road, that skinwalker appears in the backseat in their monstrous animal form, which usually causes wrecks, or worse, the skinwalker steals the person's soul and their skin. Ooh. The skinwalkers are also said to appear sometimes in the middle of the road in an attempt to cause a wreck so that they can get to the person and steal their soul and their skin. Along with the abnormally high number of accidents and fatalities on the road, there have also been an eerily high number of disappearances, along with missing time. There have been people who have gone missing that later reappear walking along the side of the road and disoriented, confused, and not knowing how they got there or how long they've been gone. Others disappear along this road and are never seen again. So sometimes when people are searching for the missing people, they'll find random belongings of theirs or pieces of their car in the middle of the road. Other people have driven along the road and had missing time incidents where they get to the end either way too fast or way too slow. For some reason, the passage of time here is strange. This road has been absolutely notorious for decades, and some people in the areas refuse to drive it at all, saying they ain't getting on no road named after the devil. Apparently, even some of the states agreed with that, because in 1992, Arizona removed the US 666 designation from their state and replaced it with the southern end of US 191. And in 2003, the remaining states of the Devil's Highway were able to change their route number 2, replacing it with the US 491. So there are signs that pretty much point out that it's the old 666 and the new 491. This change was done not only in an attempt to negate the curse by removing the devil's number, but also because people kept stealing the signs. It got expensive for the transportation department. As far as that curse goes, most people say that the change didn't help all that much. The highway is still considered very strange, pretty dangerous, and extremely paranormally active. It's said if you're driving along that road, you can feel the change as the sun goes down, when unexplained feelings of fear and dread begin to creep up on you, and all the things that haunt this road come out to roam. Have any of y'all ever traveled down the Devil's Highway? And did you experience anything creepy? Let me know.
Get your kicks on Route 666.
Do you think they gave that road the power by naming it 666 and the energy that people associate 666 with? Do you think that amped it up?
That's a good point.
Makes you wonder.
Thanks for hanging out with us and watching our TikTok compilations, and I hope you learned something.
Bye, guys.
Bye.